get your 1 cup of milk and you're going to want to warm it up. Then you're going to be adding in your packet of your yeast. Go ahead and add that in there, the whole thing. Then we're going to be using a whisk and we're going to dissolve the yeast into the milk. Then we're going to be on to the next step. Your next step, after you have your yeast and your milk mixed, you're going to want to go ahead and get 2 cups of your flour, put in your stand mixer. You're also going to want to add in your 1/3 cup of melted butter, your 2 eggs. You're also going to want to add in your granulated sugar and your salt. Then what we're going to do is we are going to mix this up and we're going to add in our yeast. And then you want to keep mixing it until it's completely combined, and then we'll be on to the next step. Once that mixture becomes nice and smooth, we're going to slowly and gradually add a little bit more flour. I'm going to be doing 1/3 cup at a time. You want it to form a soft dough. I'll show you what that means. Soft dough. It's lightly pulling away from the side of the pan, but it is thick enough where it is literally just about all of it's around the beater, and that's what you're looking for. After you have your dough formed, you're going to want to take some flour, and we are just going to sprinkle it onto our counter. You don't want to put the flour up when you're done, because you are, throughout this kneading process, you are going to want to add some flour, because the dough itself will absorb some of this flour. Put it down, take a little bit of your flour, sprinkle it on the top so we don't get it all over our hands. And I also like to take some flour, put it on my hands. Okay, so in order to knead, let's flip it over. Kneading is pretty simple. You're going to want to do this for 6 to 8 minutes. Kneading, fold it over and fold it over. See, there's a spot that needs more flour. You want to make sure you do that. Push down, okay? Over, over, push down, over, over, push down, over, pick it up, spread your flour out, over, push down. And keep doing this for about 6 to 8 minutes, and then we'll be on to the next step. Now that your dough has been kneaded for 6 to 8 minutes, you're gonna want to take a paper towel and some oil. You're gonna take this bowl, take the oil, wipe the inside of the bowl with the oil. Now you're going to take your dough and you're going to put it down in your bowl. Okay, then we're going to flip it. Take some more oil, just a little bit, and you're just going to dab the top of it. Get it nice and oiled. Want to get a damp kitchen cloth, works just fine, a damp kitchen towel. And not soaking wet, just damp. You're gonna lay it on top. You're gonna wanna let this sit in a nice warm place for about an hour until the dough doubles in size. Then we're gonna be on to the next step. Now that our dough has doubled in size, as you can see, we're ready to move on to the next step. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and set this aside. We'll get back to that in a minute. In a bowl, you're gonna wanna put your brown sugar and your cinnamon. Take a fork and mix the two together. Also, in the next couple steps, you are going to be needing a rolling pin, some more flour, a knife, your 1/4 cup of melted butter, and a basting brush. There we go, all mixed up. So we're gonna set that aside. Now, I'm gonna take some flour. Take your dough, take your fist, punch it. Take your knife, cut the dough in half. Okay, take out 1/2 out of your bowl. All right. Now, you're gonna wanna make sure that you flour the top of it. Take your rolling pin and you're going to want to roll it out into a rectangle. You're gonna wanna use half of this because we still have that other half that we need to roll out. Okay, you wanna stay about 1/8 of an inch away from the edges. I like to do a pretty generous amount of the cinnamon sugar. Okay, now you're just going to want to take the edge and just like you would a jelly roll, you just roll it up. You want to be gentle because you do not want to make your dough flatten. You would just spend all that time getting it to rise. Okay, take your ends, pinch them, just like that, and you have a log. I have my 13 by 9 inch. I have lined it with wax paper. You can do that if you don't want to grease it. It's a little bit easier to get it out. Now we're going to cut the edges. And then you want them to be about 1 inch thick. So then you cut it, take it like this, put it on your pan. Get them into our pan. Then we're gonna want to cover it again with our damp rag, and then we're also going to let it rise again about another hour, and then they will get a little bit bigger, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when they're done. All right, let's get to it. Okay, our cinnamon rolls are now done proofing, which means rising. They have doubled in their size. Now you're going to want to pop them into a 350-degree oven and bake them for 20 to 25 minutes. And there you have it. There are your homemade cinnamon rolls. A little icing, that's just confectioner's sugar and about 2.5 tablespoons of water to about 2.5 cups confectioner's sugar. You mix it up, it's really thick, put it in a Ziploc bag, cut the corner off, and that way you can drizzle it on there.